Hey, hey, hey. Taff and the out of this world story from our space. Everyone has a limit, and today on our space, we meet some serious button pushers. Up first, this cheater bit the hand that fed her and her kids. My girlfriend left me for someone else. Her and the new were taunting me, so I got even. My ex left me the day after I gave her $1,000 to pay bills. She told me she found someone else and left me, of course. I was devastated. Then, 3 days later, the knife went in deeper when I heard someone honking at me. I saw both of them in her car having a makeout session. He went to my fire station to flat my tires, but he was caught and ran off. Also, I was getting pics from unknown numbers of those two in bed. It was obvious they were trying to have fun with me and taunt me. Then I realized something. The car was under my name because I co-signed for it. Also, the majority of the things in her house, I bought a washer, dryer, hers and her kids' TVs, sofa, dinner tables, patio furniture, beds for her and the kids, etc. So with the exception of the kids' beds, I had a cop friend come with me to her house, and I took it all back, and she was livid about it, and she actually ordered the cop to arrest me, but he told her to stay out of the way. Then the repo man came and took her car because I volunteered to have it repoed. My credit is messed up anyway. To add to this, her new boyfriend doesn't own a car. She was screaming, making a scene outside when I left. Petty, I know, but when you giveth, you can also taketh. Whoa, this is chaotic. She left you without any signs? Someone like this would have definitely left some breadcrumbs. And as for your revenge, she had it coming. She was making out with the guy she cheated on you with in the vehicle that you owned. Ouch. On top of that, she cheated on the guy who literally provided for her and her children. Wow, that's a new low. What do you make of this chaos? Next up, nothing's quite as competent as a 19-year-old, or should we say, naive. Am I the a-hole for reverse revenge cheating? I, 25 female, am telling this story as it occurred at the ripe age of 19. I had a dream about it recently, and it's got me thinking about it again. So here it is. When I was 19, I got my first boyfriend, and boy was I head over heels for this man. I felt I truly loved him and wanted to be with him for the rest of my life. I was 19. He, 18 male, was your average run-of-the-mill blonde-haired, blue-eyed douchebag, but he was hot and sleeping with him was the best I'd ever had at that point. We dated for about 6 months or so. During that time, he cheated on me with a total of 5 girls and one guy who was previously my best friend in high school. I mean, he did me so dirty. I spent $200 on Valentine's Day gifts for him 1 year. He turned around and re-gifted them to one of the girls he was cheating on me with. He assigned each girl a fake guy name and would ask me to drop him off at their houses regularly, unbeknownst to me, of course. It reached a point that he would take my car to go see them while I worked or slept. Eventually, I found out, but ultimately took him back every time because I was genuinely hooked on him, no matter how badly he treated me. I wouldn't admit the true reason to myself until years later, but the reason why, in short, it was very, very big. This all came to light one beautiful summer's day. My 18 female best friend attended a birthday party from her 2 male nephew at a relative's home. I received a Snapchat photo of my boyfriend walking in with a new 18 female girl on his arm. It was also related to the 2 male birthday boy. She introduced him to everyone as your boyfriend. The photo I received was captioned, "Girl, you are not going to believe what I just witnessed." Cue meltdown. I took it well, I think. I didn't hold any grudges against anyone except for him. Ultimately, these other people owed me absolutely nothing. He owed me his loyalty. Simple as that. He rationalized his behavior by gaslighting, proper usage check, me, and saying that we were never technically in a relationship, which is technically true. We agreed on not putting a label on things, but we agreed on being exclusive, express our love for each other regularly, etc. We were dating, but without actually calling it dating. Regardless, he continued a relationship with this new girl. This girl then went out of her way to harass me for months, and basically rubbed her relationship in my face. She would call me unrestricted to say really, really mean things to me, poke fun at the fact that I am black and they're both white on social media, talk about how he would never be with a interracial slur, things of that nature. I mean, she really had it out for me despite the fact that I never did or said anything wrong to her. Eventually, my ex moves to another state, and they continue a long-distance relationship. One day, the new girlfriend called me to berate me with insults, which resulted in me audibly crying on the phone, to which she and her friends laughed at me. It continued to humiliate me until I finally hung up. That was my breaking point. I decided at that moment that I would crush her false confidence by any means necessary. My ex, being the scum that he is, tried to stay in contact with me. I ignored him until I hatched my plan. Then I began talking to him again. He told me he missed me and wanted to see me, and honestly, I was dying for a little closure. So I agreed to drive 4 hours each way to pick him up and bring him back to our hometown. Upon arrival, We hooked up immediately in my back seat. We spent the next few days together in my place, being absolute jackrabbits. As much as I hated him, that was the one part I really missed. But don't worry, I had ulterior motives. On the second to last day he was there, he asked me to take him to his girlfriend's house. She had no idea he was in town. We arrived at her apartment complex and hooked up in the parking lot before he went inside. He spent a day with her. Then I took him back home the following day, which included 2 to 3 more quick sessions during the drive. The 4-hour drive quickly turned into 6. I blocked him on all social media immediately after leaving his house. Finally, I could put my plan into action. Every single time I slept with him, I secretly took a photo of him for proof of the act. I had amassed more than a dozen photos, and one particular video where I made him admit that I was the best he'd ever had. 6 years later, this is still true. He still tries to contact me for this reason. I then calmly made a Facebook status detailing every part of the last week I spent with him, attached all the photos, and put emphasis on some of the awful things his girlfriend said to me previously. I tagged her in it, and waited for the eruption. It didn't take long. I watched her scream, cry, and violently throw up on Facebook Live after that. I turned it off after I heard her say something along the lines of, "How could you do this to me, outside of my house, and with her?" Most satisfying sin I've ever committed in my life. Looking back on it, I can't say I regret getting my lick back, but I would have changed the way I went about getting it back, other than weaponizing my own body. But god dang, did it feel so good. I wish I could have screen recorded that live stream. Was I wrong to do that? Did you know he cheated on you with that many people within the 6 months? Or did you find out afterwards? If you know about all of these people he was fooling around with, why would you stay with someone like that? You should have walked right into it. And again, wouldn't you have known what you were getting yourself into if you knew he was a D-bag? Maybe at 19, you feel a bit riskier. There's something to be said about being young and dumb and full of confidence. Are people like this worth the revenge? Let us know in the comments below. Lastly, everything is not as it seems as this cheater blames her husband for her infidelity. Would I be the a-hole if I exposed my sister's affair to her husband? I, female 30, call my sister, female 40, cheating on her husband, male 49, with a guy, male 40. I was shocked because my sister and her husband are the epitome for love that never dies. Literally, they've been together for 15 years and they still look so much in love. The way they treat each other, I felt anger and despair because I love brother-in-law as a big brother, and he has been there for my sister when she has been her worst mentally. He was there taking care of her without ever once complaining. Now, I found out, I confronted her, and she tried to deny it. I told her that she was pathetic and now she felt good about herself. After her husband nursed her back to health, she is paying him with cheating on him. I told her I was going to expose her, and she was begging me and crying, telling me I didn't understand. "Please don't hurt us. You'll be hurting my husband more than you hurt me." After a few days, she asked to meet me. She looked like she was crying the whole time. She told me that she has been keeping her husband's secret, but she wanted to tell me and made me promise not to tell anyone. Her husband is impotent, and he hasn't slept with her for the majority of the relationship. I didn't believe her, so she showed me all the texts and emails she had with her husband, her therapist, and her diary. He hasn't touched her for almost 12 years. Her depression was because of it, and her back to health was because of this new guy. She said that since she started sleeping with him, she has been happier, and by extension, her marriage and husband have been happier. I asked her why she doesn't just tell her husband. She said that she couldn't because she loves him and she couldn't hurt him. She's afraid he would be so lonely without her because he always said he had no one else in this world and he would die without her. "Don't you see that we are all happy? Please don't hurt us." About the guy. She met him to work, and actually he is kind of a famous entrepreneur in our city. She showed me texts, etc. He is also married, but he has 3 children. He has the same problem with his sexless marriage. Yesterday she asked me to meet her. She was with him. The audacity. She looked totally broken, and he looked smug and angry, and he'd even want to look at me. She asked me to think of all the people that would be hurt if this came out, and she said that they will end their affair and promise to never do it again. He got up and said, "Or we could just tell everyone and stop hiding." She got angry and told him to shut up. I don't know what to do. She said that she kept her husband's secret because he is embarrassed and is very possessive and jealous. I have noticed he is the jealous type, so he didn't agree to open marriage. She swore it was over with this other guy too, and showed me texts where they had huge fights because he actually thinks I should tell her husband so they could be together, but I don't know. He has given her a Cartier love ring that she still has, and when I confronted her, she said she couldn't throw an expensive ring, but she will donate it. She wears it in a chain underneath her clothes. I'm sorry this is getting long, but I wanted to include all the details. Hope you can give me an honest judgment. Would I be the a-hole if I told my sister's husband? I think this whole thing is wrong, and the cheating parties need to know the truth, but it will hurt brother-in-law. Let's see how the community responds. The first one says, Are you ready for your relationship with her to be over? Recently, a guy posted because his sister told his wife about his affair, messy divorce, he cut her off. It's been about a decade and she wants to reconnect, and he wanted to know if he was the a-hole for refusing. Ultimately, just be prepared for that. Someone else chimes in, not the a-hole. He looks smug and angry. He's not in a sexless marriage. He's just a cheater that has been caught and is challenging you to tell. She looked totally broken because she's a cheater that was caught. Both of their spouses have the right to know what is going on. Your brother-in-law did not agree to an open marriage, and I doubt her lover's wife did either. I feel like if you love someone and don't want to hurt them, you don't want to cheat on them. If she was having issues with her husband's impotence, then maybe she should have talked to him about some sort of deal they could have worked out for seeking pleasure outside of the marriage. And here, she swears it's over with this affair partner. Seemed like all she's capable of is lying. Update. I just want to come here and update everyone that I have told my brother-in-law about the affair. I have read all your comments and thank you very much for the insight. I had to do what would make me sleep at night. I love my sister, but she must have known that I couldn't just live with the guilt. I've been cheated on by someone I loved, and I know how crappy and selfish you must be to cheat. I also know that if I could do it again, I would want to know this time too, because while the pain was enormous, I still feel lucky now that I found out. My sister has called me like 20 times, but I didn't answer. She texted me. Do you feel better now? How could you do this to me? I love you. You ruined my life. I didn't answer her. I wanted to answer her that she was the one who ruined her life, but I didn't answer her. My parents were shocked and angry, but not with me. Brother-in-law called and told him everything, and he talked about plans that maybe my sister and he will move back to his hometown. He is devastated and broken. I hope they can move on from this together or separately. It doesn't matter. But that they move on and find real happiness and not at the cost of other people like it is now. People who cheat can never take responsibility for what they did. It's always someone else's fault. The husband is impotent. The sister ruined her life. Always someone else's problem, never hers. I'm sorry that responsibility fell on your shoulders, OP. That's not a very cool place to be. Update. Still getting a lot of messages about an update about my sister and her situation. I thank you for being sympathetic and worried about my sister. I might have painted my brother-in-law to be abusive to my sister, and I regret that. I just wanted to be as transparent as I could because they're not here to tell their side of the story, so I was trying to do my best to take in my sister's and her husband's point of view. They are fine. My brother-in-law is very hurt and destroyed, but he assured me that he wasn't angry with me and that I did the right thing. Truth hurts sometimes, is what he said. He's planning on taking a break from his work and maybe go back home for a while. My sister is fine and not hurt. She doesn't talk to me, and I get that, but she's not harmed in any way, more than her heart. But let's face it, it was of her own doing. I think she knows that because that's what she told my parents. Her husband had suggested that they move back to his hometown because I don't think he can trust her staying in the same city as her lover. And as he said, he can't follow and spy on her all his life. But he is willing to forgive her because he loves her. My parents are very angry with my sister. They're not angry with me, however. The only thing they thought I could have done right, or the only thing they thought I could have done right differently, is that I should have told them before I told my brother-in-law, because then they could have their own way to make my sister admit what she's done to her husband, and at least it would have come from her. As for her lover, I don't know, he's married, as I said in my previous post. I don't have the details, but I know that my brother-in-law has tested him and told him to keep away from his wife. I have been on both his and his wife's Instagram accounts, and it seems like the wife knows now. I don't know if she will take him back or not the way he acted. The way he acted on her meeting, he didn't seem to care either way. Boy, I hope he doesn't have a prenup, as she takes him for all he's got. That's all I have for today. I want to be making these frequent updates. If anything of significance happens, we'll be updating in the future, but right now, I'm logging off. Thank you for listening, and thank you all who support me. I know what I did wasn't the nicest or the kindest to my most beloved sister, but I had to do what I believed to be right, and you don't have to do it with me. Peace and love. Shocking how he's willing to stay with her because he loves her despite all she did to him. Interesting how your parents wanted to know first. I'm not sure it would have made a difference. Or maybe your parents would have talked your sister into cutting out the affair partner without actually confessing to her husband what she did. She'd still be living a lie. You're a good sister, OP. She should be lucky to have someone like you in her life. And if she was having problems, she should have come to talk to you instead of making the decision to be unfaithful. What do you think? Would you have told your brother-in-law? What would you have done differently? Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time, on our space.